What's up everyone, I'm Alan with Edge Autosport, and today I'm filming the episode of On the Rollers because Charles is in there editing his heart out. So he gave me a GoPro and I'm gonna come back here and show you the party that we're about to have today. Here it is. Yep, that is a Fiesta ST, or in English, Party ST. It's got a few bolt-ons. We've got the engine intake here. Looks like a Whoosh crossover pipe there. We've got the Whoosh front mount intercooler. We also have a Whoosh hybrid turbo, so that is what I'm happy about. I love the Fiesta ST, but with just a little bit more power from a slightly bigger turbo, these things become a whole different animal. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the little bit of pre-dyno inspection and then get it on the rollers and start tuning. We're gonna do 91 octane and E30 today. Okay guys, we are in the car. The car's loaded on the dyno, all strapped down, and it's time to make the baseline pull. We're gonna see what it's making before I do any changes to the map. It is currently tuned. We're just gonna see what it baselines at. And this is also on 91 octane right now. Let's see what it does. Okay, so we just did the baseline. I was just looking at the data log. It looks pretty good. There seems to be quite a bit of knock up top. You can see it pulling timing pretty hard on the top end. 26.06 was the peak boost. Nice flat boost curve, just slightly tapers off up top, which is pretty good. Air fuel ratios look good. Fuel pressure looks good. The only really issue I see is it just seems to be knocking on 91 octane fuel. And that could be several things. That could be the amount of boost that it's running up top. It could be the leaner air fuel mixture, and it could just be the amount of spark advance. We're gonna get past that knock limit with E30 for sure, but I do have to tune this car on 91 octane first. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the base map and get that flashed, and then we'll get going. Okay, so we got boost right where we want it. Being that we're at high altitude and we're on a Whoosh turbo, they say not to go over 26.5 pounds of boost. The car was sitting right around 26 to 26.5 pounds of boost when it came in, but we are at a higher elevation, so I've brought boost down a little bit just to kind of keep it under that threshold, because the pressure ratio is going to be higher even though it's a lower boost here at our elevation. The power curve, like, it's in the ballpark of where I would expect the numbers to be, but I think with some ignition timing I'm going to be able to smooth it out a little bit and broaden it some, get more area under the curve. And we may not quite make the peak numbers that it came in on, but for 91 octane the car is going to be quite a bit safer, and we'll make the power on ethanol. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I'm done with 91 octane. I'm just gonna go through the data log a little bit more and just make sure that there's nothing else that needs to be done. However, I'm pretty happy with where it's at. I ended up pulling some boost out, pulling a little ignition timing out over what the car came in with. And we are making a little bit less power, but there's not a trace of detonation anywhere, and I'm pretty happy with that. Being that this customer is running a dual fuel tune, or going to be running both 91 octane and E30, there's no point to just give it the beans on 91, so I'm going to err on the more conservative side for the 91 tune, and that means it's time to put some corn in this thing. So we just got the ethanol put in. I put in about 3 gallons of E98, which should blend what is currently in the tank up to a 30% mixture. And now I'm flashing the map. After it's flashed, which it looks like it just finished, I've got to let it run for a little bit. It's very important when going between the yes, thank you. It's very important when going between your 91 or 93 or whatever pump gas maps. It's very important to make sure that you have run the car and gotten all the fuel out of the lines before you switch to your ethanol tune. Because if you don't, if you just fill up and do your E30 blend, switch maps, and then go hammer it, there's still 91 or 93 octane pump gas in the lines between the tank and the engine, and that's what's going to be running for the first 10 or so minutes of your ethanol tune. Whenever you're switching between the two fuels, make sure and give it some time. That way you don't cause any undue damage to your motor. All right, so we are just about done with this car. Currently sitting around 350 horsepower on the E30 tune. I'm just trying to dial in ignition timing right now to get it optimized, so I'm about to do another pull and see where we end up. The max power we ended up seeing was 373 foot-pounds of torque and 361 horsepower. I am going to back it off just a tiny bit from that, just to keep things safe for a daily driven car. Because I know it's going to get asked, I went ahead and checked out the uncorrected numbers. As 360 for a lot of you is going to seem high for the stock fuel system, and it is. We could not make that power on the stock fuel system at sea level with this car, but at our altitude, the correction factors kind of get a little bit weird whenever you start going past what the technical limitations of the fuel system would be. The actual wheel horsepower on this car is 296 horsepower. I could have probably run a little bit less ethanol and maybe stretched it just a little bit more, but we are pretty close to what you would see the max power you could get on a ethanol car at sea level. We're just at a higher elevation, so with correction factors, they don't account for the fact that the fuel system stops being able to produce at a certain point. So hopefully that clears up the fact that we're going to show the 360 horsepower number at our elevation. If you're comparing against any other car in the area, you're going to also see the same kind of correction factors across all the different dynos in the area. That's why we post corrected numbers. But because this video is going to get seen everywhere, I just wanted to explain a little bit about, like, we know the car is not actually making 360 horsepower. It is corrected for the altitude, for the temperature, for the density, everything. So yeah. So anyways, I'm finished now. I'm going to go ahead and get this car off the dyno and go take it out and do some street driving and make sure everything feels right on the street. So I'm sitting here in this Fiesta ST, just going for a test drive. One thing I really like about the hybrid turbos on the Fiestas is the quick spool. I mean, we're making peak torque around 3,000 to 3,500 RPMs, and for the little 1.6 liter, that's pretty incredible. That's fast spooling turbo, and it's a lot of torque too. Uncorrected, it's just over 300 foot-pounds, and corrected, we're sitting in the 373 foot-pound range, which it's going to give a lot of cars at this altitude a run for their money. This little car is going to be quick. I mean, it only weighs 2,700 pounds. So for all you guys that attune your big turbo Focus STs, I'm really sorry that I let this one go on you. Better watch out. Feels pretty good. Man, that thing's scary. Such a lightweight car. This thing, it gets up and moves. Alright, I'm gonna pop a little UE here. Here are the final numbers for the Fiesta for both 91 octane and E30. So we ended up with 361 horsepower on E30, 316 on 91, 353 foot-pounds of torque, that's 91 octane, and 373 foot-pounds of torque on E30. The power difference gets quite large on the top end there, and it really does make some power on ethanol, but the uncorrected numbers, let me see if I can pull that up for you real quick. So we're at 306 and 296, which that's not too far from the fuel limits on the Fiesta ST, the stock fuel limitations. So at our altitude, there's not really any more that we can get out of that car. For Fiesta ST, it's moving some air. Well guys, that about wraps it up for this episode of On the Rollers. I hope you liked this series, and if you do, hit the like button and we'll keep making them. I'm going to continue doing this. Today I did it vlog style. I don't know, maybe we'll try a few different techniques to kind of find the right feel for this. So if you have any opinions, leave them in the comments on how we should go about filming this series. I'd love to hear from you guys. Make sure you subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of these videos. We're gonna keep posting them. I'll catch you next time.